Welcome to episode 32 of the MMG podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and I am here with my good friend, Gocubs 711.
Hi, is this Pizza Hut?
No, it isn't. And welcome.
I like to order a large pepperoni pizza.
Sir.
Half with mustard.
Sir. This is not. I'm so sorry. You got the wrong number.
Can you deliver it in 20 minutes?
That is not. We are not that fast.
I really need the pizza.
I am so sorry, but I do not think that this is where I can help you out here. This is not my expertise.
Look, these people really want it.
Look,
I don't think I'm gonna be able to hold them
Look,
off.
I know that the Pizza Hut is the newest sponsor of the NFL, but that doesn't mean our service goes up.
Well, all right, I'll tell them no.
Welcome everyone to the start of the NFL season. Woo!
I am so ready for this.
Oh my god. What the fuck was that opening? Alright, welcome everyone to what has been a very, very long and tumultuous in some ways off-season, where it has been an off-season leading up to this moment right here. We are about 24 hours away, at least when this goes up, 24 hours away from kickoff, and we are absolutely so excited. We've been talking nonstop about football for months, as if the season has been going on, and we're both ready to go. We have a whole new show basically going on. We're gonna have the predictions like usual. We're gonna have a bunch of other stuff that we're gonna talk about. New segment debuting with Gocubs is leading the charge on that one. Yeah, a lot of shit happening. And of course, if you are new to this podcast, this is not safe for work in terms of language, so just be wary of that. But yeah, how has been your off season, Gocubs?
It's been interesting.
Yeah.
I have to slug through baseball, which is a chore, and then just keep up whenever any sort of news breaks. You get the draft in April, which is always fun. You get any weird free agency transaction stuff, and then you get shit that happens less than a week before the season starts, which we will get into.
Yeah,
and I will very gladly get into.
Yes. Yeah, and I think again, if you haven't listened to us before, I am a Giants fan, but usually I try to be very open about my fandom, but also just I root for other teams. Love the sport in general. Gocubs is the same way, but his team is the Bears, and if you do not know what happened with the Bears this week, well then we will inform you in just a little bit. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about. We're gonna start with just general news that has happened in the off season in terms of the NFL. We've had. I used the word tumultuous earlier, and the biggest storylines have really been unfortunately negative when it comes to the NFL.
Yes.
So yeah. We'll talk about that. We'll get to the positive stuff and all the good funny stuff later on. But we're gonna start off with the latest rules that have changed in terms of the helmet, in terms of the kickoff, as well as the national anthem has been discussed. So the basic gist of those rules is this: the game is they've been trying to make. Actually, no. I'll talk about the national anthem one first, and then we'll get to the game ones. Because national anthem, late in May, the owners had a meeting regarding what to do with the national anthem. In terms of the people who are protesting racial injustice and various other causes. But even though I'm pretty sure racial injustice was the main cause of this, police brutality, of course.
Yes.
But they've been trying to figure out a way to kind of cooperate with the NFL Players Association and with the players that have been protesting and figure out and as well as dealing with the fan backlash as well as the president backlash, and having a way to balance all that. And they did come up with a rule change that they did implement, and in which the you are going to be required to stand for the national anthem. However, you if you wanted to, you can go into the locker room and stay there. But if you are out on the field, you would have to stand. Now, that rule stayed there until about the last week of July. And what happened was that the Miami Dolphins came out with their rule book, essentially stating that under their conduct policies, which they could cause a suspension if you violated any of them. And under that conduct policy included language about the national anthem and how you were required to stand and all that. And that caused a lot of backlash on its own right. And so since then, since there was so much, a lot of anger revolving around that, the NFL has since rescinded said national anthem rule. And as of this week, there has been no rule. And one of the biggest problems with the initial rule was that they were not cooperating with the NFLPA. They did not really talk to them about the rule, and so there was a lot of hatred towards each side. I believe the NFLPA actually filed a lawsuit towards them. So, but since then, it's been cooperation and them talking it out, trying to figure out what the best rule is going to be. But that rule has not come as of now, and so we're entering season without the rule change. And I mean, if I'm gonna, I'll give my opinion of it. I do think that I think it's bullshit that the NFLPA, they kind of were like that they were left out of this whole process, and they're one of the major organizations that help the NFL and help its organization run, because it's about the play. They take care of the players. So it was bizarre that they just decided to rush this rule altogether. Any thoughts on it, Gocubs?
Yeah, the thing that and this is just from the national conversation aspect, and I won't get too much into it because sure, if you are listening to this, you've heard it 1,000 times. The focus of the protest is not the national anthem, and anyone who thinks so is trying to deviate the actual issue from what it is, and try to paint things in a negative light. The national anthem is not what's being protested, and it's just what initially Colin Kaepernick chose to protest during. But since media likes to repeat the same things and frame anyone who doesn't agree with them in a negative light, it turned into something much bigger than it was. Conversation is not what it should have been. And the Players Association should have been involved, because without the players, the owners are nothing.
Exactly. I think that's a good way to put it.
And it is a brouhaha of a mess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad shit going on.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
I hope it gets settled appropriately, and
with Kaepernick too, he did file a lawsuit or a grievance, to try to because he felt like his job, he didn't get a job because of the national anthem, which in my opinion, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you share the similar opinion of the fact that yes, I think that's why he's no longer in the league.
Yes. And there's two notes on that. One is that Kaepernick may not be like the quarterback he was when he took his team to the Super Bowl. He's not going to be a phenomenal quarterback, and I understand if teams don't want him because of that. But Nathan Peterman was just named the Bills starter for this year.
Yeah.
So.
And
and Kevin Hogan started a game last year.
Yeah, I mean,
there are places where Kaepernick would contribute to the team, even if it's as a backup. Like,
right, and I think that there was a lot of arguments about well, the way that he played the game was different because he's a running quarterback and that's used a lot more in college than in the NFL. But what's confusing to me is that a lot of the things used in college now are being put into the NFL now. Like that stuff wasn't like he was not part of an old style of quarterbacking. He was in a new style,
no.
and it's now being much more replicated. I mean, you see guys like Deshaun Watson and quite a few other quarterbacks out there that are kind of playing a similar style to Kaepernick. That whole argument confuses me. But the latest update with Kaepernick though is that well, first of all, today he signed or not he's had a deal with Nike, but they're kicking off a new campaign with him, so he's being paid lots of money to be a forefront of a really cool campaign. So good for him, and obviously he's continuing doing great work off the field. But his grievance has been approved to go to court, and they believe they have everything to go to court, which is not a good thing for the NFL.
Which is huge.
It's a big deal for the NFL, and it's good for Kaepernick. It's not good for the NFL. But no. It is. But I think overall it's the right thing to do. It would be interesting to see how that case turns out. Of course, there's also Eric Rowe, and there's a few other players out there that have. Well, there's other players who have protested, but specifically not Eric Rowe. Eric Reed. He was also one who protested and has not signed to a job.
Yeah.
So very confusing. The whole thing is obviously that took a beating on the sport, and very many people are sick of talking about it. Unfortunately, we have to do that, and hopefully this will be the only time we have to do that during this podcast.
Malcolm Jenkins is the Eagles player,
yes.
Right? Yeah. I hope he keeps doing what he's doing, because he's doing some pretty good things in terms of awareness.
Yeah, he's doing great things in terms of awareness, and he isn't kneeling, but that doesn't really matter. He's raising his fist, and he is one of the most outspoken people out there defending people who do protest, and he's doing a very lot of great things off the field. So my big thing with any of these things, the NFL has rightfully in a lot of ways been painted as a corrupt organization, but I think and then there's a lot of players who get painted in a very bad light, but the truth is there's a lot of good people who are part of the NFL. Maybe not necessarily. I mean, I can't really speak for the owners because I haven't really seen a lot from the owners in terms of at least on these issues. But when I think about the players, I think about Jenkins, and I think about I think about Chris Long, and I think about so many other players. I mean, even include J.J. Watt in the mix of what he's done with the Hurricane Harvey and that recovery effort, an insane amount of money that he brought to that city after a devastating hurricane. There's so many players that do all these great things, and it gets lost more often than not. And I think you can say that about a lot of things in life, where we focus so much on the negative while we forget about the positives.
Yeah.
And we also forget that the NFL we get to do every Sunday is we get to watch a game, and we get to just to enjoy a game, and this conversation has taken over in some ways in a good way, but it has been steered in the wrong direction to make it look like the players are doing these horrible things, and the truth of the matter is they're not. Yep. So I think that concludes that. So that's the national anthem. Now, as for the other rules, the kickoff rule that is going to be implemented this year, and it hasn't really gotten a lot of hatred. I mean, some people are worried about it, but I think that it overall hasn't really been too bad of a reaction.
I'm actually not entirely sure about what the new kickoff.
Yeah, so
rule is.
That's why I mean it's very not many people are really noticing it. So the kickoff is usually when you watch the start of a game, or when you watch a kickoff during a game, you're used to seeing people running before the ball is kicked. That has now changed. They are no longer allowing people to run right before the ball is kicked in the air. Once it is in the air, then you obviously can start running. But the whole idea is to stop people running at each other at full speed and causing really serious injuries, because the kickoff is one of the most injury riddled plays in football, and many people are worried about its extinction from the sport. And so they've had to introduce this rule to kind of alleviate some of that worry. And some people are, I'm sure, are not happy about it. But like you just said, you didn't even know about it. You've been watching some preseason, so it's not a huge change, but it is an important change, and it's one that we'll be talking about a little bit, and we'll see how that does affect the numbers in terms of injuries during that play. Now, the other thing, and the one that has been much more in the conversation, has more people worried, is the helmet rule. And so I have some words about this. So you have this helmet rule was implemented around the same time as the national anthem rule. But it came out of nowhere. We all knew that they were going to talk about the national anthem, but they did not talk about this helmet rule until about 24 hours before. You had Adam Schefter come out. He was like, the owners are now negotiating this rule that will basically change football as we know it. Which is great. That's right where we want to be at this very moment in time. But so they basically, what the rule is that any hit with the helmet, if you tackle using your helmet in any way, shape, or form, you are going to be penalized. And there's been some aspects of this helmet rule that has been used already in the game, but this has been a much more extreme rule. And with the first 2 weeks of the preseason, as well as the Hall of Fame game, we've seen this rule being used and called a lot, and a lot of people have not been happy about that rule being called a ton. And there's been times where it's been called incorrectly. There's been times where people are like, well, he couldn't really do anything with his helmet. He's, exactly. You can't. You could try to tackle a guy without having your head on it. You could lead with your shoulder, but the thing is that many people forget your head's attached to your shoulders, right. And you can't just easily change that. So so for a lot of people, there was a lot of anger there. But last week, without really announcing it as a change to the rule, because they didn't really want to admit their faults, but it was a change. They basically took that it has to be a blatant, you're purposely lowering your head to tackle, not a accidental use of the helmet. And that I think that has greatly diminished the amount of helmet calls that have been called in week 3 and week 4 of the preseason. And I think that saves us from a season of talking about the helmet rule, I think. So we can all be grateful about that. But I will also say this: there is two sides of this argument about this whole rule that I'm extremely frustrated with. The first is the owners all of a sudden coming up with this helmet rule, coming out of nowhere, not talking to the public ahead of time about it, not really talking to the NFLPA about it, again, and just springing this rule on it as if this is the rule that's going to help us save people from from CTE and concussions and all that, without really thinking about what football is. I guess it was such a rushed process, and to think that you're gonna throw that out onto the field and just be like, all right, do what you want with it. Thank God that we are here now and they have made those changes, but I was extremely frustrated. But I will also, but there's this, go ahead.
I understand where they were coming from, in the sense that they need to make this a safer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So that was my second point. But go ahead.
That's where the logic behind it was coming from. Was there enough thought put into it? No.
Right.
Should they have talked to referees? Probably, and doctors and players to try to figure out what would be best for everyone? No.
This was something that they should have really taken a lot more time to do. The whole thing just felt so ridiculously just put together, and I get it. what happened last year to Ryan Shazier is awful, and we do not want to see that happen again in the NFL. It obviously we just do not like to see it. But when you are going to implement a rule that extreme, you just have to show some caution. You have to do some research, because you can't just spring something on people and expect it to be a good rule. You have to take the time. And then I will say this, right, what you were saying. This game needs to be safer. We need to figure out a way to make it safer. And so everyone out, go ahead.
If we want this game that Chris and I at least love watching to last for a long time, like rules have to change to make it safer. I know that like everyone out there who watched football before this season, were like, oh, back in my day, they would get concussions all the time and they just walk it off. Yeah, and then they developed mental health problems,
right?
Long-standing health issues,
right?
And they like it ruined them. It did not do well for them long term. Now these rules are safer. Now these people will be able to have lives beyond playing football.
Yeah, and obviously, there's going to be more rules, and there's going to be more implementation. There you go. That's the word. There's going to be more rules out there that are going to make this game safer. But the people who are just saying how much they want, they miss the violent game. They miss the fact that people are brought down. I think that people ultimately fell in love with football for the wrong reasons, and I think that they are now realizing that that's not what the NFL was meant to do. It wasn't because it's a violent.
Not haha, big man hit other big man. It's holy shit, that was an amazing play and feat of human athleticism.
It's that, and it's
he threw the ball really far. Is more impressive than one guy hits another guy really hard.
Right. This is a game of chess and not wrestling. That's the thing that we need to remember, in that's the strategy behind football is what makes it great. It's not it's the athleticism of people. It's not the wanting to rip each other's heads off. That's just not it. And so many people are realizing that, they're going away, and to that I'd say, okay, that's fine. If you don't like the game of football anymore, that's fine. You can find something else that you enjoy. But I think overall, for the long-term health of the players, that this is going to be a good rule that they put in. I do commend the owners for doing it. I just wish they handled it better, but I think they realized their mistake and they made the proper adjustments. So that's really it in terms of the serious topics. Let's talk about some storylines that are going into the season that have been really interesting. Now, I've been spending the last 2 weeks doing a whole bunch of preview videos, so I'm a little burnt. So I'll give you the floor, Gocubs. What's one topic? I already know it, but what is the one topic that you are fascinated to talk about right now?
I am really excited to talk about the Bears' acquisition of Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
It was like what Thursday or Friday this past week where the Raiders, or at least John Gruden, was pretty gung-ho about trading Mack somewhere else because they weren't getting along. He wasn't fitting the team or whatever it was. And like the teams that I saw, was like, oh, the Jets, maybe the Browns, maybe. It was going to be kind of like a lateral move in terms of how the Raiders were going to do this season.
Mm-hmm.
Then I wake up Saturday morning and a team that I had no idea was even in consideration of this trade got permission to talk to Khalil Mack about a deal. And I sprung out of bed. I texted Chris as soon as I could. I was so excited that the Bears were going to trade for Khalil Mack.
I got up. I got up Saturday morning. Usually, I am terrible. I sleep in usually, but I got up at 9 a.m. because college football was on and wanted to take in the fact that it's a new season of that as well. But then all of a sudden I look at my phone. The first thing I see is the NFL app notification, breaking news. Raiders have agreed to trade Khalil Mack to the Bears. I'm like, what? And I immediately, right under that, a large text, but it was like 3 words: Bears got Mack.
I was so excited.
He was so excited, and it was just, it was so cool, and it was such a cool moment because like I as someone right now the team that I root for, I'm kind of like they're gonna just go this season, they're gonna do their thing, and they're gonna probably head out at the end of December. I'm not
Yeah.
really invested in any that at least my usual favorite team in the Giants. But I have been riding this train with Gocubs and the fact that the Bears might actually be good this year. And I thought they were going to
Yeah.
be good this year without Khalil
This
Mack.
this is my analysis of the whole thing. First, let's talk about the trade itself.
Yeah.
The Bears traded 2 first-round picks, which sounds like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But next year in the draft, Bears were probably going to look for a pass rusher anyway.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, that's a huge tick
for the first round.
Yeah.
The best ones would have been in like the first 5 picks. If the Bears have one of the first 5 picks next year, Ryan Pace doesn't have a job.
Right.
So
he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a do or die year for him.
Exactly. So this is essentially like spending a first round pick on Khalil Mack, and then another one that they then traded to the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears also got a 2020 second round pick in exchange for the trade.
Yeah.
So the Bears flattened the Raiders in this trade.
Khalil, yeah.
They got one of the best defensive players in the league right now.
Yeah, the full details.
To add on to a defense that was top 10 last year.
Yeah.
Same offensive coordinator. Many of the talent is still there. You add first-round Roquan Smith from Georgia, who finally has a contract. And then you add Khalil Mack, who is one of the best, who is like the enemy of every quarterback that he meets.
Khalil Mack, so the Bears got Khalil Mack, 2020 second round pick, and a conditional 2020 fifth round pick as well. The Raiders got the 2 first round picks over the course of the 2 years, the 2020 third round pick, and the 2019 sixth round pick. I looked at this trade once it finally came out, and I was like, oh man, so like this, everyone kept on saying it was going to be a win-win if it was going to be 2 first round picks and Khalil Mack. We'd call it a day, whatever. And I probably felt the same way. I was still on like the whole, what are you doing? Why are you trading Khalil Mack? But I was like, you know what? If they get 2 first round picks out of it and they don't have to worry about trade anything else, then maybe it's not too bad. Then the Raiders sent Khalil Mack and the second round pick, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I get it. You offset it with the 3rd and 6th round and whatever, but like, fuck, what? Why are you giving away even more picks? Go ahead.
It was fantastic news. It is going to change how the Bears. It changed how I think the Bears are going to do this season, legitimately.
Yeah, absolutely.
I went from an attitude of if everything goes right, the Bears can make the playoffs to the Bears might definitely make the playoffs.
Definitely.
there is a like, and we're not going to the Super Bowl, but we are a playoff team now.
I think so. I think my big thing with the Bears is that my biggest concern in terms of the Bears would be if things were to work out fine, like the defense is great and the offense is its trickery self that we at least are expecting out of Matt Nagy, that this team could be great, but they are in a very, very tough conference. If this was the AFC, the Bears would have no problem. But since it's the NFC, you not only do you have the teams outside of your division, in your division,
but you have the NFC North.
The NFC North. You have the Vikings, who are very, very deep. The Packers have Aaron Rodgers, and the Lions also have a very dynamic offense. But I'll say this.
The Lions.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. No.
But I feel like with this trade. And look, Khalil Mack has been there since 2014, and the Raiders have only been to the playoffs once. Him playing hasn't really him playing doesn't automatically put them immediately into the playoffs, but he is a franchise altering player, and he made the Raiders so good. Defensively, even though their statistics overall made them among the worst defenses down there in like the worst defenses in the league. But it was because Khalil Mack's play that made that defense at least look a little bit better, a little bit more fearsome. The Bears already have a good defense. They had a good defense with the linebacking group that they had, and with the secondary, the young secondary that they're building. They also had Akeem Hicks that was already great on the line. You add Khalil Mack to that group. That, like you said, they were a top 10 defense before. This could be a top 5 unit. And then you just have to worry about how the offense is going to do. This is going to be a great team, and I'm really excited about them. You just have to go get through some really difficult opponents, but that's just how. But that's how you have to deal with every single season, you know.
I'm really excited for the Bears this season. I'm going to be very emotionally invested in the Bears this season, which I haven't been since they made the NFC Championship back in like 2011.
Mm-hmm.
2011 was the postseason, so the 2010 season. Yeah.
I to continue talking about it from the Raiders' point of view, I'm stunned. I'm simply stunned by the way they handled this, because look, people get all antsy about what the hell, why are these players holding out? Look, you think of it from any job point of view. I'll give you a more personal standpoint. My father, he's a machinist, and he was looking at market value recently about like what his job pays at other places, and he thought, I think I'm getting underpaid, and he went to his boss. He talked things out about whether or not about what maybe consider this payment, and after some negotiations and stuff, they were able to help him out. Now, that happens in everyday life, where someone who looks at the market value and they say, I don't know if I'm being paid like the rest of these top players, top people. And now you look at the NFL, and it's the same thing. Khalil Mack looks at Aaron Donald's contract that he just got, and he was being paid so much more than Donald was being paid so much money for doing the job that Khalil Mack has done equally, if not even better. And so that's why he held out, and that's why he because he felt like the team was not giving him a contract that he rightfully deserved, and that has kept him out of the locker room. All it took was just a few minutes of obviously not a few minutes, but a few moments of just sitting back and looking at what has Khalil Mack done and what can he bring to this franchise. And the truth of the matter is, if you took every single player out of that Raiders organization and you left the one that was the best, like the best player on that team, no matter what, was Khalil Mack. Not Derek Carr, not anyone on the offense, not anyone on the defense, except for Khalil Mack. He was their best player, and they gave him away because they didn't want to pay a little bit of money, a little bit more money to him, even though he's the best player.
They don't want to win this year.
That's the only thing that makes sense. Now, they said, okay, we're going to rebuild, but this team... Okay, so you want to rebuild, but why are you giving away a second-round pick?
Uh-huh.
Why are you relying so much on first-round picks? Look, I get it. First-round picks, they look nice, and it's hard to give away a first-round pick, especially too.
But they bust.
I would say
they bust.
But there's so many. Right, there are busts that come out of the first round. Every single draft pick is such a risk. Why are you taking such big of a risk? You basically,
when you have this beast of a player,
right? You have all these draft picks now. The two first rounds, the third round pick, and sixth round pick. Sooner or later, in the next 2 years, those draft picks are going to have names to them, and we're going to look back at the trade, and we're going to see Khalil Mack in the second round player that the Bears have. That, who knows,
the Super Bowl winning team Bears next year.
God damn it, Gocubs. second round pick. And then what if he ends up being a big name, but your 2 first round picks are bust? It can happen. Why would you had a guaranteed good player. Why are you getting rid of him? He's a young talent that you worked so hard to develop. What in the hell is wrong with that organization? There is clearly distrust between Reggie McKenzie and John Gruden, and I think that John Gruden, I don't know what is up with him, but he is immediately throwing Reggie McKenzie under the bus. Reggie McKenzie, all he's doing, he's just like, we never wanted to trade Mac. We never wanted to, but it just, the offer came and we had to make it. But
there are two teams that I'm going to shit on a lot this year. The Raiders are one of them.
Yeah, I think rightfully so, and it's a shame because of how close this team was to doing something, and now it feels like they're just starting all over. If I'm a Raiders fan, if you still have faith in John Gruden, good for you.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I mean, I know that he's a legendary coach, but man,
let's move on.
I think that's a big story, but I also just think generally too the free agency and trades this offseason has been one I've not seen before.
Quarterback carousel.
It's been it's definitely the quarterback carousel. I mean, Kirk Cousins was the coveted quarterback, and he went to a team that not many people were expecting in the Vikings. And then all those Vikings quarterbacks have gone somewhere. You got Case Keenum going to the Broncos. He's going to be starting. Sam Bradford going to the Cardinals. He's going to be starting. And then Teddy Bridgewater, who was with the Jets, was heavily in the competition, and he played really well. But instead, they traded him for a third-round pick to the Saints. And essentially, the contract was not a lot that the Jets gave him, so they paid $1 million ultimately for a third-round pick. That's how you trade, bitch. That's how you trade.
Yeah.
Now Teddy Bridgewater is now back up to the Saints, but if God forbid something happens to Drew Brees, then he might be able to step up and lead a potential.
The Saints have a good backup quarterback.
They have a good backup quarterback, right? And he may be the franchise.
Someone who could be a starter somewhere.
He could be a starter somewhere, or he could be the starter at the Saints. If Drew Brees retires, you got a starter right there in Teddy Bridgewater. I have confidence in him.
I think Bridgewater's in a better situation here than he was in the Jets.
And then the last thing is just a lot of weird, like, big names and new places. Richard Sherman to the Niners was just weird. That's going to get some getting used to. Jordy Nelson with the Packers for many years. He's with the Raiders. Just a lot of strange...
Alex Smith to Washington. Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
Alex Smith. That's right. That's another quarterback guy.
Made that joke, sure.
Yeah.
And if they haven't, then football journalism is bad.
Yeah, well,
someone's had to have made that joke, right?
You know what?
Please tell me someone has made that.
You know what? It's been such a whirlwind. I'm sure it's been in the mix somewhere. I just haven't gotten to it. But yeah, I am sure that there's someone out there that made that joke, on some kind of level. But it's been wild, and the trades, Jarvis Landry to Cleveland, keep to leaving Marcus Peters to Rams. So there's just so much happened. Yeah, so much happened. So, again, if you want to get more in-depth previews, you could go back to my videos. But a lot of them are relevant, especially the Bears and Raiders ones. So let's go ahead and move on here. Let's do what we always do. It's time for predictions, bitch. Let's go. So, if you're new to the podcast and don't know what exactly we do with the predictions, it's really simple. We pick the games, who we think we're gonna win, but we did add a little bit of an incentive in these. We are competing in this. Me and Gocubs, we compete, and essentially for every correct pick you get a point. But there are some added incentive for taking some risks in the group here. We do some gambling. All right, essentially. So, one of the things is that for one game each week, we make sure that we guarantee that team is going to win. We say that we guarantee that team is going to win. But if they end up losing, we do end up losing a point for getting it wrong. So not only do we not gain a point, but we lose a point for getting that pick wrong. There's also our Team Chaos, which you guys will learn a lot about Team Chaos this year if you haven't already.
That is our brand.
That is the brand, obviously. But Team Chaos, to put it more broadly, is the forces that make it so the unexpected happened and the expected could die a beautiful death. And basically it's our underdog pick. And we pick a random matchup to have the underdog win the game. So And those are the parameters during the regular season. Those go away during the playoffs, obviously, but yeah, that is what we're going into. We have a full slate of 32 teams all playing for the first time this season, and we kick it off with Falcons at Eagles. A rematch of the divisional round. These teams had quite the defensive showdown, but it came down to a Julio Jones missed catch, incompletion.
Oh, most of Julio Jones' season 1, if we're being
honest.
Yeah,
and it ended up leading to the fall of the NFC champion Falcons, and it kicked off what would be an amazing Super Bowl run for the Eagles, one that many of us did not expect. This week, Nick Foles, the Super Bowl MVP, is going to continue his reigns. He's going to be starting this week. It has been confirmed. So he's going to be starting. And Carson Wentz, we will have to wait on and see. But these teams both loaded in talent. It's gonna be both. Both teams are. It should be very exciting going into this year with this matchup. I'm really excited about it. What do you think is gonna happen, Go Cubs?
All right, so I have 3 picks that could all constitute a team chaos. This week one. This is one of them. I don't think I'm going to name this one Team Chaos because I don't think it's chaotic enough.
Yeah.
But like with, not that Foles is a bad quarterback by any stretch. He was the Super Bowl MVP. But with how injured it seems the Eagles are this week, I'm not sure if they'll be able to stand up to the Falcons, who have just remained steady, and if they starting this new year under Steve Sarkisian, after learning from the bounty of mistakes that they made last year, I think that they'll be a more successful team. So I'm gonna go with the Falcons on this one.
I'm actually also picking the Falcons, but I do think it's gonna be a close game because I hate, to be honest with you, I do hate doing this pick because last 3 times that I've had to pick against the Eagles, they've won every fucking time. And I feel like if I pick against them again, then they're going to come back to haunt me. But here's my justification for it. I do think this game is going to be close. I think Doug Peterson has proven to be a great coach in this league, and he is going to be up there neck and neck with Dan Quinn. But if you look at right now, yes, you have Nick Foles injured. You do have Alshon Jeffrey injured. You have such a deep defensive line that you have riding on it. But this Falcons team, it's not so much about the Eagles. It's about this Falcons team. This team, I would not be surprised if we see a repeat of 2016 with the Atlanta Falcons as it stands right now. I don't know if their offense is going to be off the charts, but I think it's going to be really good. And I think this defense, it constantly feels like this team is building into what the Seahawks were in 2013. With the Legion of Bloom down south, essentially, is what they're building, and it's because of the former Seahawks defensive coordinator Dan Quinn leading the way. I love this Falcons team. I'm going to pick them. It's nothing against the Eagles. I'm just hoping for a good game, but I'm going with them as well. So that is my pick. Let's move on. Is the Texans against the Patriots, one of the main games of CBS next on Sunday. The Patriots obviously coming off the coming off the Super Bowl loss and being the AFC champions. And a lot of dysfunction this off season, it felt like, but they're gonna come back, and I'm sure they'll be fine. And they're going to be going up against the Texans team that are getting a lot of players back. Deshaun Watson obviously being a quarterback. J.J. Watt returning as defensive end. Hopefully he's going to be back at full chaotic strength. And Whitney Merciless as well. Someone that I under the radar very much enjoy watching. So they're going to be a tough matchup. They were a very tough matchup last year against the Patriots. An interesting stat for you. The last 4 matchups between these two teams were at New England, and the last 3 were in September. So it is, once again, these teams are meeting in September in Foxborough.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, or like at least this is the fourth matchup. The first three matchups 0-3 for the Texans. So maybe you want your luck to be turned around in this one. What do you think's going to happen here?
I said there were 3. This is number 2. Let's go Texans.
Wow, what a shit! I love it. All right, is this your Team Chaos?
I'm gonna name this my Team Chaos.
Good for you, man. I love it.
Here's what I'm gonna say. This plays into one of my bold predictions later on that I will get into. But just as a general thing, I believe that this will be the start of the Patriots' downfall this year. Tom Brady's getting old. Belichick's getting up there in years. The so many questionable roster decisions right now, and depth issues that they've been having.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have a few players who are gonna have a great year regardless. Brady and Gronk, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that they're going to be the team even that they were last year. I am predicting the downfall. It is going to start with the healthy Texans, the new and improved Deshaun Watson, hopefully. I really expect a lot from the Texans this year, and I think that they have the capability to show it right away.
I love the pick. I don't have the balls to do that, but I love the pick. I am not as high on this Patriots team as I have been in the past. I do think that there is some concerns, especially on wide receiver depth right now. Their offensive line's a big concern. You're always worried about the team's defensive talent. I do think that their defense is going to end up working itself out. But you are going to be without Matt Patricia this year. But my big thing has always been to pick the Patriots, and I'm not just sticking to that this year. The thing with the Texans, my biggest concern is their offensive line, and keeping Deshaun Watson upright. The best thing that Bill Belichick has done in terms of his defenses usually is to make sure they put pressure on the quarterback, and if they do that, I think that they're going to have the advantage. So I'm going to go with Patriots, but I
fully know that my choice is dumb.
No, I don't agree with that. I think your choice is valid. It's a valid choice. I think, but I right now I think the safe choice is going to be the Patriots. But I think the Texans they have a shot. This is a very difficult 2-game stretch for them for sure. Right out of the gate, it's going to be a very, very difficult set of games. So with the Texans and then the Jaguars next week. So yeah. I think that we will see how this Patriots team adjusts to those bits of adversity. I guess if you want to call it that way. So let's move on here. The Jacksonville Jaguars, coming off of what has been an insane season. One of the reasons why 2017 was so much fun. They are going to get a chance to head to New York and face the New York Giants, who are coming off of basically the exact opposite of what the Jaguar season was. Everyone thought the Giants were going to be Super Bowl contenders last year, and that went crashing and burning to the ground real quick. While the Jaguars, no one expected to even get close to the Super Bowl. They did get close, but
they almost won.
One pass.
Miles Jack caught that ball.
One pass. It was all that was holding them back. But now their campaign begins again with a fiery defense and offense with some questions, but probably pretty much a similar roster to last year. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, this first game, I can tell you what's going to happen. The Jaguars are going to stomp the Giants.
Yeah. Yes, I am with you on that. Again, as someone who's a Giants fan, there's already people out there who are like, Giants are NFC East champions. That's their prediction.
I cannot agree.
I can't agree with it either, because you have this is one of the toughest stretches I've seen. I mean, like, everyone's talking about like the Buccaneers right now because Jameis Winston was suspended, and how that 3-game stretch to go from the Saints to the Eagles to the Steelers, and a 3-game stretch without Jameis Winston, it's gonna be awful. Look at the Giants' 7-game stretch, and you tell me where a win is. That is going to be a very difficult stretch for them. I just think that you go into this game, yes, you have a trio of great players, but you have one really, really great safety as well, and I guess defensive lineman, David Harrison, who's very good. I do not have confidence in the rest of the team right now. They're going to have to give me that confidence again, and even if they did have that talent, the Jaguars are topping them in a lot of different categories. Right now, Blake Bortles is better than Eli Manning. I'm going with I'm going with the Jaguars and Blake Bortles. Bortle up, bitches. First Bortle up of the season. Let's move on.
There will be many more.
The Niners are leading their 5-game winning streak to end 2017, entering 2018 with Jimmy G leading the way into Minnesota to face the deep Minnesota Vikings team coming off of trampling in the NFC Championship game, but they now have Kirk Cousins at the helm, and this is a deep roster on all facets. Biggest concern for them, offensive line, but if they can overcome that, they can overcome anything. What do you think's going to happen?
Jimmy Garoppolo will get his first career.
Yeah. That's a good way to think.
This is going to be a stomping.
Yeah,
Similar to the Jaguars and the Giants. Like, the Vikings are they are one of the just best teams all around in football right now. And I don't think that the 49ers team, who just had an injury to who was supposed to be their starting running back, with a okay defense, with a still pretty new quarterback who hasn't necessarily developed a rapport with all of his receivers yet. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's feasible to say that the 49ers will win this game. So go Vikings.
Yeah, I'm with you, Vikings and Niners. I think even after my preview of them, I tried to find some positives with them, but they certainly have positives with Jimmy G at quarterback. There's no question about that. But I think that there is a depth issue overall in many other aspects of this team. I think Richard Sherman is going to be a good player for them. I think Alfred Morris is going to try to, fill the hole that Jerick McKinnon lives behind after he's tore his ACL. And you have Marquise Goodwin as well as the wide receiver. But this team is not very deep, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I can't get behind the hype that everyone's spewing at the moment. So I'm going with the Vikings as well.
They are going to be better than they've been in past years, but they're not going to be.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
They're on the up.
They're on the up. I would agree with that.
Shanahan is going to do some good stuff.
Next up, the Buccaneers at the Saints. This is the first of 3 games that Jameis Winston will be suspended. Will be out of commission. So now in comes Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he leads the way with Mike Evans and a new running back in Peyton Barber. Well, not necessarily new, but at least a new starter. And you have a deep defensive line as well in this group. I think it kind of rivals the Eagles' defensive line at the moment. But you're going up against the NFC South champion Saints. Of course, we know what happened to them at the end of last year. The unfortunate recipients of the Minneapolis Miracle. And they are going to try to rebound from that. And Drew Brees his career is kind of coming to an end, but he might have some juice left in him. What do you think is going to happen, Gocubs?
Yeah, this is a very hard matchup for the Buccaneers. I don't see much from them overall this year, especially not in this game. I have the Saints winning this handily.
I do too. It's just I'm higher on the Buccaneers than most are, but it is very difficult to go into a game and win against. It's hard to win in the Superdome just generally, and it's even harder when you're going up against a team that just won the division and is arguably still that team from last year. They didn't really lose a lot of players going from in the offseason. I think they generally are in good shape. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm going Saints. Let's move on to the Titans and the Dolphins. I believe that's what we're up to. Yes, Titans at Dolphins. This was, I think, out of all the games on the schedule, I was like the least excited about this one. But maybe we'll see. Maybe it'll be the most exciting. But Marcus Mariota entering his year as coming off of a playoff year, won a crazy game against the Chiefs, and then got obliterated by the Patriots. But now he comes in with a new running back. In addition to Derrick Henry, you have Deion Lewis now, and you have a few new defensive players, including Malcolm Butler from the Patriots, joining this Titans team. They're going against the Dolphins, who get Ryan Tannehill back for the first time since the end of 2016. So he's going to be starting his first game. What do you think is going to happen in this game, Gocubs?
Well, so one thing about the Titans, just for the season in general, is I really want to see how their offense does this year, because they brought in Matt LaFleur, who was the Rams OC last year, and we all know what happened with the Rams.
Yes, indeed.
Using Mariota, who is a better quarterback than he's been given the chances to. Needs to be more accurate, of course.
Yes.
But, yes. God, yes. But it's still like a much better quarterback than really given he's been given the opportunity to, along with Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis, who together, with the very different roles that they fulfill as running backs, and I think both of them are great, and receiving weapons in Corey Davis, like last year, I believe, and who's shown a bit in garbage time in the playoffs, but still got a chance to play there. Taywan Taylor, Rashard Matthews, they're serviceable as well. I think that the Titans offense this year is going to be a lot better than they were. And of course you have Delaney Walker, who is just
you trust him.
An Iron Man against Miami, who doesn't have a future this season.
I'm
going
Titans. I'm going Titans as well. This Titans team, they need to regain my trust, but they have a new head coach in Mike Vrabel, who he himself also needs to gain my trust in terms of his ability to coach a team. But you nailed it on the head. Matt LaFleur, I think I'm very fascinated to see how he does as the offensive coordinator, what this offense does. That's a big part of the reason why they need to gain my trust again, because the defense was good last year. It's just the offense needs to get better. I'm with it. So moving on, Bills at the Ravens. The Ravens are coming off a really good offseason, revamping their complete offense, looking really good coming into this year. Their defense also, of course, looking great, as they usually do. And they're facing the Bills, who had, I think, one of the worst off seasons that I've seen. Basically going from a playoff team last year, or at least fringe playoff team, to being one of the worst rosters in football. But can they prove the world wrong? Let's see. What do you think, Gocubs?
Well, they can't this week because they're playing the Bills.
Or wait, you mean the Ravens?
The Ravens are playing the Bills.
Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I'm. So you're going with the Ravens.
I'm going with the Ravens. Yeah. No question.
Yeah, no question from me either. I'm going Ravens. There's just, you're not gonna win many games with Nathan Peterman right now. He's had a good offseason, or a good preseason rather, but I can't trust it right now. Next up, the Steelers at the Browns. Oh boy, this Browns team. They've won over so many people this offseason, and they've won my heart in many ways. They're finally seeming like they have a great group, a truly great, talented group. They've been the subject of Hard Knocks, which has documented them very, very well. And they deserve some respect going into this year, but they have to win a game. and their first game's going up against the AFC North title Steelers, who have a lot of concerns about their defense and their running back Le'Veon Bell, who as of this recording has still not shown up to the field, has not showed up to the facility because of contract issues. What do you think is going to happen with this game?
So I mentioned earlier that there are two teams that are going to shit on this year. Raiders are one of them. We just passed the Bills. They're going to be the other one. I'm not going to shit on the Browns this year because I like a lot of the players that are on there.
Man.
It was kind of funny when I think it was John Dorsey came in. It was like, look, we just got the wide receiver with like the highest touchdown rate out of anyone. Not knowing that Jarvis Landry did not hold that record.
He had another record. He had the most receptions of any wide receiver for at least the time period he's been in the league, like the 4 years or whatever it is. But yes, no, he got it wrong.
But he got that. Still got that. It's kind of funny. Very Browns to do.
Yeah.
However, like even with Le'Veon Bell not showing up, like I was thinking about that, and Chris and I were talking about it earlier. Like, oh man, what are the Steelers going to be without Le'Veon Bell? I don't remember that they have Connor. Connor's not bad.
No, Connor's not bad.
No. So I think they'll be fine. And especially with the growing pains the Browns are going to have to go through, and the Steelers, who are a very well-established team and already have that rapport, especially with Big Ben, with all of his receivers, with Juju and of course Antonio Brown, namely.
Yeah.
I think that the Browns are still going to have trouble winning this game. They will win at least one game this season, but it's not going to be this one.
Yeah, look, this Browns team I do think is better than some other teams right now in terms of their roster and what they look like. I'm not very high on the Steelers this year. I don't really understand their lack of motivation to do anything on this defense, even though there are clear issues still, especially where Ryan Shazier was in the middle of the linebacking core and the secondary. With that said, I am going to just take a step back, and I can't get too excited about the Browns yet. I'm going to pick the Steelers. I really, really want to pick the Browns. Oh, man, do I want to pick the Browns. I'm not going to. Not yet. Okay. The time will come.
I was expecting this to be your team chaos.
No, the time will come. I have a team chaos a little bit later, but this is not it right now. Steelers, they'll win, but if they do it, if the Browns do it this year, they're doing it this week, that they win this week, oh man, is there going to be some fucking chaos, and it'll be brilliant. But they're not the team chaos that I'm labeling, at least right now. So let's move forward here. We've agreed on the last 3 picks, right? Because I just realized I forgot to keep on typing.
Steelers, Ravens, Titans.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
We've agreed on everything except my team.
Right. Chaos. Okay. Just making sure because I forgot to keep on typing your picks into my notepad. So cool. All right. So next we have the Bengals at the Colts. Interesting matchup, and I think the main storyline is Andrew Luck coming back to play his first regular season action since the end of 2016. A huge addition to the Colts, but what is the rest of the Colts team going to be like? And of course, you have the Bengals, a team that continues to think that Marvin Lewis can lead them somewhere, but maybe they do have something going. Maybe their offense is improved. We'll see. What do you think is going to happen, Gocubs?
So this one's a hard one for me, and it's the biggest toss-up. It also seems like the Bengals and Colts face each other every year.
Yeah, it does sometimes feel like
that. I know this year the AFC North last year the AFC North and South faced each other. This year they placed the same.
Yeah, for me it was the Colts Broncos. It feels like the Colts are in every single game at this point, honestly.
Yeah. This one was hard for me. I think I'm gonna go with the quarterback who's a little fresher, and the defense who I think is a little better. I'm gonna say the Bengals for this one.
Yeah, this one's not as difficult for me. I do think that Andrew Luck, he's kind of like Tom Brady in the sense that it doesn't really matter what you have around him, he's going to be good. But this is not a good roster right now. At least the defensive side is not, and I think that the Bengals, who I think greatly helped their offense or improved their offense in the offseason, will have their way. So I'm with you on that.
Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton are first ballot Hall of Famers in my opinion.
Yes,
but they're the only ones on the team right now.
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton, I would pump the brakes on that, but I do think he's a good player. But
maybe
second, yes, fair enough. But yeah, no, I'm with the Bengals as well on this. Next up, the Chiefs visit the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs are the reigning AFC West champion. Now they're rolling with a new quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. Of course, their first-round draft pick from last year. They're taking on a Chargers team, which is looking pretty good. Once again, everyone was kind of hyped about this team last year. That fell apart very quickly, but not as many injury issues this year. I mean, there's some, unfortunately. But what do you think is going to happen in this game, Gocubs?
The thing about the Chiefs is in preseason game 3, their defense got torched by Chase Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears' second string.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was really bad. Yeah. And with how good the Chargers are this year, I don't think that with how honestly good the Chiefs' offense is, I don't think it's going to be enough to take down this Chargers team, who can make a Super Bowl push this year, I believe.
I think so too. I've been high on this team, for a little while now. I very much think that they're going to be a factor in the AFC race. They have to this year. It's Phillip Rivers is not getting any younger. This guy needs a Super Bowl ring. He's the most deserving of the three from that draft class that had Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger. They each have 2. He needs one. He needs to get one on his ring. So I agree. I'm with the Chargers on this pick, and I think the Chiefs, they're going to have a downslope this year. This defense is just not good enough.
I think Patrick Mahomes is a great future quarterback.
Yes, yeah.
Like, he is going to be a great quarterback for this franchise.
I agree.
This is not going to be a good year overall.
I agree with that. Maybe Andy Reid will surprise us. He's a great coach, but we'll see.
Yeah. They'll make the playoffs and lose in the first game.
That's true. That's fair. Seahawks at the Broncos. This is a rematch of Super Bowl 48. A matchup, of course, that has almost none of those players from that Super Bowl. But of course, the Seahawks.
You have Russell Wilson, Von Miller.
That's and Doug Baldwin. I think those are the only few that I can think of right now.
Well, Embarrassing.
Oh yeah, the 20. Yeah, there's a few guys from the Broncos that were on that team. But look, the Seahawks are in the middle of a rebuild. They are without a lot of their players, including Earl Thomas, who technically is still on the team, but at least of this recording, I don't know if he's gonna end up reporting and he's gonna be on the field on Sunday. I'm not too sure. I don't know how much that's gonna matter, but they're without Sherman and Bennett and Averill and Chancellor and all those guys. That's gone. You have a Broncos team on the other side that is also trying to find its identity since 2015. So 2 teams looking to restart things. What do you got, Gocubs?
Honestly, I'm gonna take the Broncos in this one. Usually I would chalk this up to a preference, in which case it would be the Seahawks. But with with the Broncos defense just definitely being better, and the Seahawks really being as bare bones as they are, minus Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin, and that's pretty much it. I think the Broncos will have a better shot in this game than the Seahawks will. Case Keenum is a better quarterback than I think people give him credit for if he's in the right system.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, who are just veteran wide receivers who will be able to catch the ball as long as it's not thrown by Paxton Lynch or Trevor Siemian.
Ooh, yeah.
And Case Keenum is definitely better than them. So, and Royce Freeman, I think, is a fantastic rookie who looks like he might be getting the start.
That's been confirmed.
Yeah, good, because they're not going to provide for that team in the way that I think that Royce Freeman can. And any more help that Royce Freeman can get to make him a better player, I think the Broncos are going to take. So I'm going to go with the Broncos in this one.
Yeah, man. I did a lot of similar talking points as I would say, especially Freeman. I do think since his days at Oregon has been really good. And I think that the defense led by Miller, of course, and Bradley Chubb, I think they're going to be a huge impact. I think the pass rush is going to be good this year. Um, I do have questions about the secondary with the Broncos. Their offensive line, there's some questions there. But I think that right now it just feels like I need to really learn a lot about the Seahawks team and what it is, because its identity has been completely stripped down and removed. I need to see more out of this team to really have confidence in them. Where I think with the Broncos, they have Keenum and they have these other defensive players that I've known that have been good over the years. That I just gotta go with them. So I'm with you, Broncos. Let's move forward here. The next team is the Redskins at the Cardinals. Alex Smith's debut. Going up against a former division rival when he was with the Niners in the Arizona Cardinals. And the Cardinals, of course, are getting back David Johnson, and they're going to be starting Sam Bradford while Josh Rosen develops behind him. What's going to be the situation with them?
Yeah, so this is another weird matchup to me. I think just for, I don't know. I think that this year, at least with David Johnson, with Sam Bradford being just a good floor of a quarterback, like he's not anything spectacular, but he's accurate and he can do things when he needs to. Like a very middle of the road quarterback. I think the Cardinals might have the edge here, and I'm going to go with them for this. Just because I'm not sure what Washington is going to do yet. They're like last year especially, but recently they've just been marred by injuries, and a lot of their players may not be how they were getting back into things. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think the Cardinals will take it this game.
This is a close game. I think what's interesting too. I completely forgot in my intro. Adrian Peterson is also on the Redskins now, so that's this is a revenge game because he was with the Cardinals last year. So there you go. Yeah. Interesting stuff there. But Alex Smith and Adrian Peterson's going to be an interesting group. And Jake Gruden, I don't think gets enough credit with how he runs the offense. He's done a really good job despite having to deal with the injuries and not having the greatest roster around him. He's done really well in the position that he's been put in. And I think that with the defense also having a pretty good group, and I think the two guys to keep an eye on with this team, Daron Payne, their first round draft pick from this year, and Jonathan Allen, their first round draft pick from last year, both from Alabama and both kick-ass defensive linemen, will be a huge factor. Ryan Kerrigan and Josh Norman. I really like this Redskins team to do well, maybe not make the playoffs necessarily, but I think they'll give teams fits for the most part. The Cardinals, you're absolutely right with some of the stability that the David Johnson, Sam Bradford bring, and Patrick Peterson.
And Larry Fitzgerald.
And Larry Fitzgerald, Patrick Peterson, Chandler Jones. There's a lot of great players on that team, but I do think Steve Wilkes is a new coach. There's a lot of holes on the team. It's a feeling of a rebuild right now. I think I like the Redskins a little bit more in this matchup, so I'm going to go with them. But again, I do think it's a close game.
I also think that Alex Smith is a better quarterback than people give him credit.
I 100% agree. I do too. Let's move forward. This is what they call the America's Game of the Week. On Fox is
just the most broadcast.
Yes, basically.
Most widely broadcast.
Cowboys at Panthers. Of course, it's a Cowboys game. It's the Dallas Cowboys entering this year.
Boys are back in town.
Yeah, they're entered this year with Dak.
And by that I mean all of the boys have left town.
Yeah, well, that's true. Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott are going to be leading the way on this offense that has lost Des Bryant, Jason Witten, and they're going into a very questionable period transition of what the fuck are my receivers.
Yeah.
But they do have a young defense, and I can commend them for that. But then you have a Panthers team who's also trying to gain an identity on the offense outside of just Cam Newton. And Christian McCaffrey is going to be more of a running back, full-time running back for them this year. Got some interesting wide receivers in the mix. DJ Moore, obviously the first-round draft pick, will be keeping an eye on him. They'll be without Thomas Davis for the start of the season because of suspension.
Yes.
But we'll see how much that impacts them. What do you think's going to happen, Gocubs?
The Panthers still have a great defense. They have more weapons than they did last year, and they were 11-5 last year. I've told other people this, and they kind of look at me crazy, and I might be crazy in saying this, but if Cam becomes 2015 Cam, the Panthers will make the Super Bowl.
I want to debate that right now because this is a very similar roster to what they had in 2015.
Yeah, but I think that I don't even know who their running back was then. Might have been
that was Stewart. It was Stewart.
Yeah, Stewart 100% of the time. So. Like Christian McCaffrey, great receiving back, could handle that workhorse load when he was at Stanford. Didn't do that much last year, but is looking like he'll do that this year. Their OC, North Turner, is known for having like really good workhorse running backs. Now, I don't think Christian McCaffrey is yet someone like LaDainian Tomlinson, which is a really hard name to say.
Yeah.
But he was an elite running back under the same OC.
Yeah, good.
So
good
and especially
tidbit.
in this
like
matchup, yeah. So especially in this matchup when the Cowboys don't really have an identity right now outside of Zeke, I think the Panthers are going to win.
And yeah, I forgot about North Turner being with the Chargers at one point. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going with the Panthers. I think right now the Cowboys, to me, it's always weird with the Cowboys because it's like the year that you think they're not going to do well, they end up doing well. The year that you think they're going to do well, they don't do well. They're constantly just changing my viewpoint on them. But I right now I could say that there's a lot of depth issues, and especially what they're dealing with the offensive line right now. Travis Frederick out with the autoimmune illness, and Zach Martin dealing with injuries. Even their left tackle as well. Who I'm just blanking on the name of. They all of them. There's the offensive line. There's a serious concern there. So I think that combined with what other issues they're having on offense, it's going to contribute to them having a rough game in Carolina. So I'm going with the Panthers. That was another storyline I forgot about. They changed owners this offseason. So that
True.
happened. I don't know, but I don't know how much is going to have an immediate impact on the.
The biggest impact that I'm hoping it has is they put the fucking Panther logo in the middle of the field.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. The Jets and Giants have the same thing, but that's because they share a stadium. It doesn't make any sense with the Panthers. We'll see. Well, maybe they'll change it at some point.
There has been a social media campaign that the Panthers have been doing to try to convince the president to. So I don't know what's come of it yet.
Yeah, it should be the Panthers head. That's all right. Sunday Night Football. It is the Chicago Bears against the Green Bay Packers to open up the 100th season of the Green Bay Packers. Very fascinating tidbit, and I don't know if you saw this on Twitter today, Go Cubs. Mr. Peter King of the used to be of the MMQB, now with NBC Sports, one of the media changes this year. He did some research, and right now, yes, the Packers are leading the series between the Bears and the Packers overall by, I believe, just 2 wins. But the score between the Packers and Chicago Bears, 3,377 to 3,377. It is a tie.
Holy shit.
It is a complete tie right now. So, yeah, you can look at the win-loss total right now, but right now we're entering overtime, bitch. We're entering. This is a tied series, and the tie will be broken one way or another. Or if it fucking ends in a tie, I'm gonna be so mad. But we're entering. It's gonna be a great game. It's a historic rivalry, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, especially with the debut of one Khalil Mack and the return of Aaron Rodgers. What do you think's gonna happen, Go Cubs?
I said there were 3. I'm going with my heart on this one. I'm probably still on a high from the Khalil Mack trade. The Bears aren't going to be perfect this year, but I've told other people this. But I think if the Bears win this game, they will be in the playoffs. They will have shown that they have developed the talent and have the pieces to make a playoff run. I'm gonna go with the Bears here just because I really want to see it happen.
You thought the Browns were going to be my team chaos. I assured you that that's not going to be the case. The Bears are beating the Packers on Sunday, and it's my team chaos.
Yes.
Listen, I get it. You know, the Packers have had the Bears number for quite some time, especially with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. But this Khalil Mack trade changes everything to me. This team has already had a great defense, and they made a fantastic addition in Khalil Mack. Yes, I understand that there's some hesitation with getting hyped for this offense yet, because we just do not know yet what it's going to look like. But it is going to look good, and Mitchell Trubisky is going to make the leap with his two running backs behind him, with Allen Robinson leading the way at wide receiver, with Trey Burton, who I think will play a great role. His name is going to be bigger than just being the guy that passed the thing in the Super Bowl for the Philly special, okay? It's going to be bigger than that. I think that the Packers are in a rough spot right now with their offensive line at times. Their wide receiver core could be better. Their pass rush should be better. Their secondary needs to get better. They've been drafting so much there, and it just hasn't worked out for them yet. I think that this is a perfect opportunity for a Bears team that is looking really good right now to surprise a lot of people, and I think it'll be Mac that ultimately gets this win for the Chicago Bears. Team Chaos, bitch. Let's go.
Fuck, I love it. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I was like, man, we agreed on a lot. And I'm glad that we have at least two games that we're on different sides of right now. But I'm so glad we agreed on this one. I had a feeling you were gonna lean towards the Bears, but I didn't know if you wanted to pull that trigger yet. I'm glad we're both in it. I'm with you though. Bears and Team Chaos all the way. That will certainly open some eyes for sure.
And the fact that this is the first Sunday Night Football of the season is really exciting.
That too. It's any time that the Bears and Packers can open up the season, it's gonna be great. So let's move forward here to Monday Night Football, the first of two games. First, the Jets at the Lions. The Jets are starting Sam Darnold, their rookie quarterback, the only rookie quarterback starting, but he does extend the streak of rookie quarterback starting every single season for the most part. I don't know how long it's been, but I believe it's been like 15 years or so. But they're going to be going against a Lions team that, though their defense is not too intimidating, will be led by Matt Patricia as head coach now. And their offense is very dynamic. What do you think is going to happen? Go Cubs.
So I'm entering a contest that FanDuel is doing that you can enter. This is not a paid advertisement. Like FanDuel Survivor Contest, whatever it's called. You have to lock in by the start of Sunday's games. If you miss the Thursday night game, you're okay. But you have to lock in by Sunday's games. Basically, you choose a different team every week that you think is going to win. Once you choose that team, you can't choose them again. And the winner at the very end wins $250,000, or it's split up that way if there's multiple. This matchup is the one that I chose for that. I think the Lions are going to beat the Jets. I'm also going to make this my guarantee of the week.
Yeah, that you don't have to be restricted to one team each week. You don't have to worry about that.
I'm going to try to do space it out as much as I can.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah,
and not choose easy targets. Like Patriots Dolphins, I'm never going to make that my guarantee because that's just Although I say that, and the Patriots got their asses whooped by the Dolphins last year.
It tricks you. The guarantee tricks you sometimes. We saw that last year.
Yeah. So this will be my guarantee. I think the Lions are just gonna handily take this.
Yeah,
the Jets are on the up, but they're not up yet.
Yeah,
a hand has been extended to them, but they're still trying to like they're laying on the floor.
I'm with
Like it's
I
it's gonna happen, but not
no,
right
yeah, no, like the Jets, I'm higher on than most. I do think there's spots on it that are very fascinating to see. I thought the Jets were in the mix for Khalil Mack. If that happened, then this would change everything. But that didn't happen. I do think that that this team needs a year to grow still, and I don't know
now.
I don't know how patient the Jets organization is going to be, but I do think that this is a rebuilt team still. While the Lions, I still don't love their defense, but maybe things will turn around for them with Matt Patricia at the helm. I think that they have a offense that I'm actually going to look forward to watching this year. I'm going Lions as well. So that is that. And last but not least, the Monday night football game, and the Monday night football game, the late night game rather. And this is going to be between the Los Angeles Rams and the Oakland Raiders. The Rams are coming off of an amazing offseason, probably the second best offseason in the league next to your one Chicago Bears. I do think that this team is very, very good. Entering this year, could be a Super Bowl contender, going up against John Gruden's Oakland Raiders, an ESPN reunion of sorts on this night. What do you think is going to happen, Go Cubs?
Well, I know who you're picking because you haven't said your lock yet, unless I missed that.
So, go ahead.
I'm going to pick the Rams. There's really not much else. We talked about earlier about how the Raiders made the dumbest decision this offseason and got rid of the best player on the team. And they're going to have to do some rebuilding. And the Rams are already rebuilt. And are a very dynamic offense and have one of the best defenses in the league. I don't need to say anymore. Let's go Rams.
Rams, or Raiders. I had faith in this team going in this year. I thought, maybe if they could turn things around from last year, that they could, they could maybe be a 6th wild card in the AFC. Maybe even win the division if things go to shit for the Chargers. That they would be in the mix. And John Gruden, the return of John Gruden, everyone's so hyped. John Gruden, he's back, he's great. He's an amazing coach from 10 years ago who hasn't been done shit since. It's gonna be great. Fuck that, man. What in the world are they thinking? I think that they made the dumbest move in NFL history.
Oh,
I think that they're going to rue the day that they doubted Mac and they doubted their chance to go to the playoffs and maybe make a miracle run with what they already had. But no, they give it away. They give it away, and they have to give away a 2nd-round pick in addition to that. I'm with the Los Angeles Rams, and I guarantee it.
That was really intense.
I listen. Everything changed with the Khalil Mack trade. The team chaos. The team chaos and the guarantee were not. They were not going to be that until what happened on last Saturday. So I am.
I love it. I am proud of you.
Look, I just.
I feel like I made a good choice and a friend.
I'm glad I have you here too, Gocubs. The Rams. I know that this is an easy guarantee in a way, but I do think that the Raiders, despite everything, will still be somewhat competitive in this game because it just ends up being like that. But this Rams team is way too good. I'm going with them. They're gonna win this game, and they should do it by a nice margin. So that is that. All right, picks finally done. Let's get to the rest of this. First, we debut a new segment on the show. It is Go Fantasy with Go Cubs, and I'll let you take the floor on this one.
So if you're watching this the night of, you probably already have your team. So I'm not going to give any drafting tips because you probably should have already done that. If not, you're stupid. My advice for week 1 is if you drafted Carson Wentz, and you're like, oh no, what do I do? How am I gonna roster someone? Don't grab Nick Foles. Grab Andy Dalton, because Andy Dalton and the Bengals have a pretty easy opening schedule. They will. He'll be serviceable and at least give you some sort of other fantasy option other than the Eagles for the first few weeks, while Carson Wentz is still waiting to get back. I have one other tip, and that is for week one. Really, for if you have defenses in your league. I don't have defenses, so this is not the only league that I'm keeping track of this year is a dynasty league, which we don't have defenses or kickers. Next year I'm going to start going in more, but this is year one dynasty, so I am all in on just this one team to make sure it starts off well. So I don't have defenses, but try to make sure that you have a defense that will be good week one, or at least have some good week one matchups. Like the Ravens, have a great week one matchup. Saints, pretty good. Looking at next week, you probably might be able to keep the Ravens against the Bengals. That doesn't seem too bad. Saints against the Browns, you probably could. Just having a defense that will be good for you the first 2 or 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how this is more of a broad stroke, how the helmet rule, because I know that everyone's freaking out about it, but it's been gotten better, but it is going to play a factor in fantasy this year. I expect a little bit more offense this year because of that helmet rule. So that's something I'm going to keep my eye on as we enter the season. All right, next up, bold season predictions. What do we expect to happen? The unexpected, that's what. And we're going to give you 3 bold predictions of our own that we were just going to what, could happen, but it's really a stretch. And I'm going to give you the first bold prediction to you, Gocubs. What do you got?
Okay, so this is one that I've definitely told you in the past, but you've forgotten about it. But you're definitely going to remember once I say what it is. And this may not necessarily count, but I think it's bold enough, so I'm going to say it. 3 AFC South teams will make the playoffs.
I like it a lot. I'm with you. In fact, we'll get to our playoff predictions later, and you'll see. I'm kind of on the same page with you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. My first bold prediction here also relates to the AFC. It revolves around one New England Patriots. I know you have a Patriots prediction in your.
I do have.
So that's good to follow it up with that, right? But
I wanted to do my Patriots one last.
Yeah. Oh, you are. All right. You know what? Then I'll skip it. We'll make sure we'll work this around. We didn't plan this, guys. All right. So my bold prediction. This is really wild, but just bear with me here. Actually, you know what? I'll do the calmer one first. The Buccaneers won't finish last in the NFC South.
Oh, okay. That is pretty bold.
I'm telling you, I'm higher on it. Wait, say again? Say that one time.
What do you think will then?
It's gonna take a collapse of one team. I'm leaning towards the Panthers, but that would again it would take a collapse. But I do think that the Buccaneers are a good enough team that they could maybe battle for the third place spot, which shows you how deep the NFC is, or the NFC South is rather. Sure. That those 3 teams are such a stronghold with those 3 positions that the Buccaneers won't finish last is kind of bold. So there you go. All right, go ahead with your pick.
Okay, so my next one, and this is a bit of a weird one, but I kind of made it just to see if this happens, and I really I promise I will keep track of this.
Okay.
More away teams will win this season than home teams.
All right, interesting. And so, what is it like? Any basis for it, or is there like?
It was more just something weird that I want to see happen.
Yeah, it's realistic.
Home field advantage is obviously a thing.
Yeah, that home field advantage is definitely a thing. Yeah, we've seen in the past where certain weeks where we've seen the away team win more, but yeah, definitely see how it works out. And you keep track of the picks, and you have the website open for that. Yes. So we'll keep an eye on that for that prediction. All right, my Patriots both predictions, and I'll go into yours. Uh, the Patriots, again, not very high on them this year, but the AFC East is really not good this year. So I say that the Patriots will have the AFC East clinched by week number 11, which was before their 11th game in week 12. So that means that they have that they have 10 games under their belt and they're automatically going to clinch the division. Now, to give you some statistics on that, there has never been a team that has clinched before their 11th game. The ones that hold that record right now are the Bears of 85, the Niners of 97, the Eagles of 2004, and the Patriots of 2007. So the Patriots would break that record this year in my bold prediction.
Okay.
All right. What about you?
My Patriots prediction is that the Patriots will not make the AFC Championship.
I mean, it doesn't sound that bold, but it is, considering what has happened. It is
bold.
Compared to the last few, yes, it is bold, and compared to what we've seen out of them, has been a constant streak.
My reasoning for that is, yes, the AFC is not deep, especially the Patriots division is not deep, but the playoff caliber teams in the AFC can put up a huge fight.
I agree with that. I'm with you on that. All right. My last bold prediction, and this one's the most wild, I think. Joe Flacco, Mr. Baltimore Raven quarterback, who's on edge because Lamar Jackson's sitting behind him, will have a similar year to 2017 Alex Smith, having a MVP caliber type season.
Okay.
But in addition, it can't just be that easy. He will also get traded to a Florida team in the offseason. So he will be sent away to either Jacksonville, Miami, or Tampa Bay. All three may need a quarterback by that point.
Wild.
Say again?
That is wild.
That would mean that, but there's a few factors in this. Joe Flacco first having a great year, and then the second one is if Lamar Jackson's development would be at that point. I'm not doubting that a Florida team is going to need a quarterback. I think the closest probably is Miami right now.
Miami. Surprisingly, I think Jacksonville's the least likely to change the quarterback.
I'm with you on that.
Tampa Bay came out and said that they might not start Jameis Winston even when his suspension's over.
That's true. That'll be an interesting storyline to follow for sure. But that is, if all that works out, I'm gonna lose my mind. But I just throw that out there just to be like, whatever, bold prediction.
Yeah. All right.
Next up, the playoff predictions. We do these every year just to kind of see where we're at, see how much we get right. We're gonna do we'll do AFC. We'll change it up. We'll do AFC first and then NFC.
Okay.
And then just listing our where our seeded teams are, and then we'll say what our Super Bowl team is. So go ahead, Gocubs. AFC.
Okay. I actually didn't seed these.
Okay, but that's fine. Whatever, however you want to do it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna list off what I think they're gonna be. First two are easy: Patriots and Chargers. The rest of their divisions aren't very deep. The Chargers have a little bit more competition in the Chiefs and the Broncos. Patriots have none, but I still think the Chargers are just the most well-rounded team in that division and will win easily. Mm-hmm. Next is the Steelers, because even with or without Le'Veon Bell, they're still a great team. And I think the Ravens are going to have a really good year in order to challenge that. Mm-hmm. And then, like my bold prediction, 3 AFC South teams in the Jaguars, Titans, and Texans, with the Jaguars winning the division.
All right. Interesting. I also, too, have the Jaguars winning the division and the Texans and Titans as the wild card team. I also have the Chargers and the Patriots. But my friend, as I said earlier, am not high on the Steelers this year. And I am high on the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're going to...
Okay, I was worried you were going to say Browns.
No.
They're not playoff.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. I would be very happy if the Ravens beat the Steelers in the division.
Well, first of all, I mean, they got the Ravens got they're very good in that rivalry. They're very good in that rivalry. So I there's a lot. I think they have a good shot to beat them every single time they face each other. But look, this Ravens team has shown how good their offense can be. They haven't even gotten to the point where they're going to be using Lamar Jackson as a weapon. We're going to see that once the regular season begins. And then again, like, you can't doubt this Ravens defense as the way where it is right now. Their secondary is very good. They're obviously their front seven's very good. Terrell Suggs is still playing great even at the age that he's at. I really like this team. I don't want to see John Harbaugh get fired, and that I think that's going to help that this year. That they're going to be in the mix. I do think it's going to be like a 4 seed, but I do think that they're going to win. And the Steelers, as I said, their offense is great. I don't see it on their defense right now. Their defense worries me.
Yeah. All right.
So what about the NFC for you?
All right, the NFC again, not seeded. The Vikings, the Rams, the Eagles, and the Saints winning their divisions. So exactly the same as last year. Surprisingly, with how deep the NFC is and how last year we were so excited about how different the playoff teams were, I don't think that'll be the case this year.
Yeah.
Next up, number 5, the 5th seed. These two I do have seeded. Unlike what you said, I really like the Panthers this year, and I think that they can edge out the Falcons. Maybe not the Saints, but the Falcons, and have a good season this year. And then because I'm a fucking idiot, the Bears are number 6.
So I have in order. I have the Rams, the Vikings, the Saints, and the Eagles as well. Same thing, same grouping.
Yep.
I have the Falcons as the 5 seed.
Yes.
And I have the Bears as the 6 seed.
There's so much hype on the Bears. I'm not going to be disappointed if it doesn't turn out how I wanted to, because it'll be a step in the right direction.
It's fun. It's fun when you can at least get a little hype in there.
Again this season.
There's a little hype, you know. I will say this. I also wrote who almost made it in each conference. I wrote the Broncos were the 7th seed that almost made it into the AFC. I said the Packers would have been the ones that the Bears beat out. So how's that?
That would make the season for me. The Bears made the playoffs and the Packers didn't.
Yeah, it would be a disappointment for them to do, but I do worry about the depth on the team overall. But it's Aaron Rodgers, so you can't really doubt them too much.
Of course.
What is your Super Bowl teams?
All right, my preseason Super Bowl teams matchup, whatever you want to call it, is the Rams and Jaguars.
Rams and Jaguars. This is the ugly uniform matchup. No kidding. No, I love it though. I think that this is the matchup I wanted last year. We're gonna get it this year, at least according to you. Yeah. So I'm happy about it.
It really really good offense with one of the best defenses in the league, with a pretty good when it's going right offense, with the best defense in the league.
Yeah.
I want to read off a stat. I know we've been going a long time, but there's
fine.
a stat that I really wanted to read off. I sent you a text with this.
Yeah.
So the Jaguars are known for their defense, but their offense was not bad last year.
Mm-hmm.
There were 6 times last season where the Jaguars scored at least 40 points or 30 points. They only had 4 games where they scored less than 20. They had a couple 20-point games, but there were only 4 games where they scored less than that. And one of them was the season finale, which they were already in, and it didn't matter that much. That is an insane number of points that the Jaguars have the capability to score with Blake Bortles.
Yeah. Was that
Leonard Fournette gets another year. There are 2 pretty good backup running backs there too, in Corey Grant and TJ Yeldon. And the receiving core, even though there's not one standout star, I don't think that ability to spread around the ball is going to be great, because the defenders won't know who is going to be targeted the most. Add in Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who was a pretty good tight end last year. And I think that the Jaguars are going to find a lot of success this year. and obviously,
yeah,
really good defense.
I did one question on those stats. Was the scoring? Was it just the offensive scoring, or did it factor in defensive scoring as well?
Oh, that's true. I forgot that defense.
Well, I'm not gonna take away anything. I
Yeah.
wanted to just clarify that it could have also considered some defensive scoring in the mix there, but
Yes.
regardless, that is still good.
That's still a high scoring.
It's still a very high scoring, and I like the Jaguars a lot this year, and I liked them last year. I thought
They also have a pretty easy schedule, which will help with their record.
yeah, I mean, one man is going to dictate how the Jaguars' offense goes this year, and that's Nathaniel Hackett. I know that Blake Bortles is going to be the forefront, but Nathaniel Hackett was really one of the geniuses that kind of got the Jaguars to where they were, because the defense was already great, but making that offense great was really something that he was able to kind of figure out, as well as Doug Marrone, who's also very good at offense. So that's going to be the key to getting the Jaguars to the Super Bowl. I'm with you on the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are going to be the AFC champions, and I think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl. But they won't win, unfortunately. I think the victory will just be the fact that they got to the AFC championship and won, and they get to go to their first Super Bowl. Who will win will be a team that has been starved many Super Bowls, and in fact went through 4 of them and lost all 4. It's the Minnesota Vikings.
The Buffalo Bills.
Oh my god! Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that they're both, but it's Minnesota Vikings. But yeah, I very much I love this team so much right now, and I am really concerned about their offensive line. But the fact that that's my only concern, considering all the other positions are so deep. I don't have doubt in Mike Zimmer and what he's done with the team. I really love what they're doing in Minnesota, and they should have another special year under their belt and finally bring some glory back to Minneapolis. You missed your chance to win in Minneapolis last year, but even if it's in Atlanta, you'll get your first Super Bowl. I think it'll be this year over the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right. I didn't pick the winner. I'm gonna go Jaguars because I'm a nutcase.
Yeah, go with Jaguars. I should have specified that, but yeah, that's fine. Jaguars over Rams, Vikings over Jaguars. Please, can we just have someone other than the Patriots in the Super Bowl? It'll be very nice. Yes. Let's get that bold prediction true. All right, we're gonna try to quickly go through these. We have award predictions. Starting with MVP. Who do you got for MVP?
Todd Gurley the second.
Ooh, Todd Gurley. I wonder how long it's been since a running back won MVP.
Adrian Peterson, I believe, was the last one.
Okay. I have interesting one. Chargers quarterback Phillip Rivers. He deserves one. Offensive Player of the Year.
Aaron Rodgers.
I have Todd Gurley the second in mine.
Nice.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Calais Campbell.
Oh, I'm actually kind of surprised you picked him, but yes, I like it because I picked Bears defensive end Khalil Mack.
Nice.
Offensive rookie.
I'm gonna go with Royce Freeman.
Ooh, I like it.
I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I think that he's gonna shine on this team.
Yeah, I went with the gimme, but I like Royce Freeman a lot. I went with Saquon Barkley because even though the Giants won't be good this year, you have a tendency to have these bad teams have this one guy that's gonna do really well. I think it'll be Barkley though this year. What about defensive rookie?
This is my Bears pick, Roquan Smith.
Yeah, I think that he's gonna be a huge role in it. I went with Bradley Chubb because I really like him as a pass rusher.
I didn't want to do 2 Broncos. I didn't pick anyone on the same team as
I tried to do the same as well.
I chose Royce Freeman.
Yeah, but what was interesting last year was that happened. You had the 2 players of the year was Rams, the 2 rookies of the year was Saints.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I kind of like doing it that way too. So I went Broncos with that one. Comeback Player of the Year.
Comeback Player of the Year, Deshaun
Watson. I went with Vikings running back Dalvin Cook.
That was actually one that I was thinking.
Yeah, I went just to kind of because if he's in there, that's going to be a great running game that will also help propel the Vikings further. And the Coach of the Year.
Mike Zimmer.
Mike Zimmer. I like how you chose my Super Bowl pick, and I'm choosing your Super Bowl pick, Jaguars coach Doug Marrone.
I almost chose Marrone.
Yeah, so there you go. So we're just riding this Vikings, Jaguars, and even Rams team right now. Going into the season. Quickly before we end it off, guarantees. Who do you the 4 teams that you think are going to make the playoffs?
That will 100% make the playoffs. One is the Rams because their division. Another is the Vikings just because I think they're deep and elite. They're an elite team. The Patriots also because of their division, and same with the Chargers.
The Chargers, okay. This was really difficult for me to stay with doing the 2 AFC, 2 NFC, so I had to cheat in this one. But I went with the Patriots, went with the Vikings, went with the Rams, and I picked the Eagles over the Chargers for now. I just think the Eagles are too deep right now, and I don't think they have a lot of competition in the NFC East to compete for that division title right now. But I'm gonna go with that. Now the fun part, guaranteeing who won't make the playoffs. The 4 teams in your book.
Okay, the NFC, the Cowboys.
Ooh, all right.
And the Cardinals.
Cardinals, okay.
AFC, the Bills, and the Raiders.
Yeah.
The 2 teams that I'm gonna shit on.
Yeah. I'm on the same page as you with the Bills and Raiders. I picked the Cardinals as well. And I hate to do it to myself. Gotta go Giants. I can't do it. I cannot see them getting out. That 7-game stretch stresses me the hell out. Just they're not doing it, my friends. They're not doing it. All right. What a long podcast, but it'll be our longest of the year. But I am so happy that football is back. I love to have these conversations with you, Gocubs. I'm hoping that everyone stuck around for the time being. And if you want to do you reach the end of this episode, say this in the comments.
Pooter.
The classic. Pooter. Pooter. If you made it to the end, say in the comments below.
I got comments saying Pooter on that video that I did much longer than I should have.
Oh my god. It is a classic. It is a classic. But that was a long time ago now. But all right, guys, football's back. We're so close. We can taste it. If any news happens between now and the podcast going out, I'll make sure to put it in the video before I edit it and put it out. Yeah. Or if anything does happen, we'll update you on Twitter. Maybe change our picks if we have to. But I don't see that happening right now. So, anyways, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a wonderful football kickoff. Go Cubs, thank you so much again.
Yes, it is going to be a fantastic year.
It'll be great.
I love it.
We will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.